guys, I am 40% into Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. I'm really enjoying it so far. There have been a few moments where I've cringed, just the slightest, but I would say maybe 2 moments in total. But other than that, I'm really enjoying this book. So it's honestly flying by, and I think that's a telltale sign for me that this is a really good book and that I'm enjoying it. I really like the main characters. I feel like the chemistry is very obvious, which a lot of times in romance books, I feel like it's forced, but I think it's very palpable here. So I'm enjoying it. I like the backstory. I like the way that their families are like intertwined. And I'm also liking the like siblings and the parents and everything like that. So having a good time, 40% through. This is the first time I'm updating about this book, but I have just been kind of on a roll with it. Last night I just read for a couple hours because it's just really easy to get through. So I'm gonna keep reading and I'll update you when I have more to say about it. Okay guys, I am still reading Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. As you guys saw in the last clip, I did just get a new Kindle. This is the new Kindle Paperwhite in the raspberry color. I still have to decorate it and I have a case coming and I need to put a pop socket on it and all of that, but I'm excited to keep reading this book on the new Kindle. So far, I'm obsessed with it, but I also do have the physical copy of the book right here as well. So you can kind of see, I actually need to move the bookmark. Let's see, what page are we on? 393. So this is where we are at in the book. I am 76% done with it and I am really enjoying this book, probably more than I thought I would. I think I just needed a nice palette cleanser romance to read, and so I'm really glad that I picked this up and I'm doing this video because I feel like I've been reading a lot of romantasy and a lot of fantasy recently, and I feel like I just needed some sort of like palette cleanser. I am thoroughly enjoying this book. I love the chemistry, I love the banter, I love the acts of service that is going on, and I'm just a sucker for second chance romance. So far I am eating this up. I'm a little bit worried because at this point in the book, in the romance book formula, something usually goes wrong, and so I'm anticipating that and I'm a little bit worried about that. Like I was saying, there's just something so addicting about second chance romance that I am just so obsessed with, and every time I read a second chance romance, I feel like I am just guaranteed to like the dynamic off the bat. So I am eating this up quite literally, and I'm excited to continue this series. I think this is definitely one one that I would want to continue. I have never read a Lauren Asher book before, so I'm really glad I picked this up, and this is also making me want to read her Dreamland Billionaires trilogy. I think it's a trilogy. And her other, I think it's like a, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's like a race car driver type of romance. I think it starts with like Throttled or something. But I definitely want to read more Lauren Asher after I've been reading this book. It just makes me so intrigued because I really like her writing style. I like how to the point she is, and I like that you can really feel the tension off the page. I am just loving their dynamic. I'm loving the main male character in this book. I feel like he is the blueprint. I'm loving the acts of service. I'm loving the history between them and the banter. It's just really good. That being said, I think I mentioned this last night when I was reading, but there have been a few moments when reading that I've cringed, just the tiniest, smallest amount, but that's okay. I can forgive a few cringy scenes. If it was like really cringy all over the place, then we'd probably have a problem. But yeah, just wanted to put that out there. But I'm really, after reading this, I'm just in this like small town romance mood. This honestly could not have come at a better time. I feel like I've been reading so much fantasy that I just needed a lighthearted, you know, romance that's not serious that I could really dive into. Really enjoying this. I am gonna keep reading and I will keep you updated when I finish it. Like I said, I think I'm like 76% of the way done with this, so making good progress. And I honestly feel like I could probably finish this today and then get started on the next book, and we'll talk about what the next book is when I finish this one. Also, I'm just obsessed with the Kindle because this one is like way faster than my old one. I still have my old one over there that I was reading on this morning because this just came in the mail today. I'm noticing just how much faster this is. Like when I'm turning a page or clicking a button, it's almost immediate that it will go to the next page. Whereas like on my old Kindle, it would take a second to turn the page or to click a button or things like that. Really noticing a difference, and I'm glad that I asked for this for my birthday. Thank you to my boyfriend for getting this for me for my birthday. He's the best. I am gonna get really good use out of this Kindle, and I can't wait for my case to come because I'm gonna put on some stickers, a pop socket. I'm gonna make it all cute, so stay tuned for that. Why do I want to like giggle but also cringe at the same time? Like, I don't know how to feel. Okay guys, I just finished Love Redesigned. I really liked that. That was really sweet, and at the end it felt like it was all tied together with a cute little bow on top. I had a really good time reading that. Honestly, I enjoyed myself reading that book a lot more than I was expecting. I'm gonna let you know all of the ratings at the end of the video, but I feel like I need to sit with this one a little bit anyways. Wow, I was really impressed. I really was not expecting to like this as much as I did, and like I was saying, I feel like this was just the perfect book and what I needed right now, especially since I'm in a big romance mood. I just loved it. The chemistry was great. I love that there was no unreasonable issue. Like, I felt like the issues were really realistic. My cat is playing with a toy, so ignore her. But yeah, I felt like the issues were realistic and not annoying. A lot of times in romance books, like there's a lot of annoying miscommunication or unrealistic issues, and I didn't really feel like that was happening in this book. I felt like it was just really endearing and just really well done. So great book. I had a really good time reading this, and on to the next. So this is my TBR cart. Since this video is reading romance books for Valentine's Day, I'm gonna pick a romance, even though I have quite a few fantasy on this cart, but I'm still kind of in like a small town romance mood, so I think I want to do another one of those. So right now I am leaning towards Heartless by Elsie Silver. This is on my February TBR. I didn't really make like a firm TBR, but I did make a video talking about the books that I would like to read this month. So this works out well because I'm in a small town romance mood. So I think I'm gonna pick this one up next. This one's about Cade and Willa. I read Flawless, which is the first book in the Chestnut Spring series. I read it almost 2 years ago now, so it's been a while, but I am obsessed with Elsie Silver's other series, Wild Love, the Rose Hill series, and I want to explore her other series because I love that one so much, so I'm gonna give this one another chance. I wasn't the biggest fan of Flawless. I think I gave it like a 3.5 stars, but I am looking forward to this one. I feel like a lot of people say this is their favorite in the series, so I feel like I might enjoy this one. So I'm gonna start this one next, and we'll continue this reading vlog. Okay guys, I wanted to give you a quick update about Heartless by Elsie Silver. I literally haven't even updated you with how I've been feeling about this book. And the reason I haven't is because I literally cannot put it down. Like literally since I started this book yesterday, I have not been able to put it down. And I stayed up super late last night, like way later than I would care to admit, reading it on my Kindle, flipping the pages. I literally could not stop. Like this book is addicting, and I'm so glad that I gave this series another chance, because when I read Flawless, I liked it, but I just wasn't like super invested. Like I don't know what it was. Maybe it was because I read it right after I read Fourth Wing, and I felt like Fourth Wing was like just so intense and there was so much going on, and then I felt like Flawless was more like low stakes, and maybe I just wasn't in the mood for it at the time. That was also like 2 years ago, so maybe my reading taste has changed a little bit, but there is just something about this book that I have not been able to stop reading. Like literally, it's like crack. I just keep reading it. I can't put it down. I love the characters. I really love the grumpy sunshine type of vibe that's going on. I think it's not too overdone where like the guy is like a complete curmudgeon and like very rude, because sometimes I feel like Grumpy Sunshine can really just be like the guy bullying the girl for 350 pages. But this one, it's really just, it makes him more endearing, and I think it's just more of like a personality trait, and it really goes into like why he is the way he is, which I think is so important. And I just love their chemistry. I felt it right from the beginning, which is not always the case in these books. So the fact that I could like feel that off the page right from the beginning, I think is a testament to how good the writing is in this book. I really like the main character. I like how she is in charge of her feelings, and she really doesn't let anyone walk over her. She's like very in touch with how she feels. She's very decisive. She has her flaws and she has her like insecurities, but she doesn't let them rule her life. And I really like that, because I think sometimes in romance books, the trauma that these characters have, or like their past, can kind of bleed into, you know, their current situation too much, where it's kind of like unrealistic, and you're like, okay, you really wouldn't realistically be having this many doubts after being reassured so many times. I really appreciated her independence and her self-worth and her decisiveness as I've been reading this book. I think it's just been a really nice change of pace. I really liked how the other characters from the other books in the Chestnut Springs series popped up in this book a lot, especially Summer and Rhett from Flawless. They show up a lot in this book, and it makes it feel like more of a cohesive story, and I really like the family as a whole. I think they're just really wholesome and cute. And also, I've said this before when I was talking about Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver, which is another single dad trope type of romance. I usually don't like when there's kids in a book, just because I feel like a lot of times they're used as a means to an end for the plot. And I don't necessarily like that, but the kid in this book was so cute, so adorable. I think it really added a lot to the story, and it spoke a lot to their relationship, and I just think it was really well done in this book, just as it was in Wild Eyes in the Rose Hill series. This, I don't know, this might be one of my favorite Elsie Silver. I think Wild Eyes probably still takes the cake, but this one is probably my second favorite book out of all of her books that I've read, which I've read 4 now. So I really love this. Like, I just don't know what it is about the single dad trope, the, you know, forced proximity, small town, whatever it is. Like, I am just obsessed with it, and I'm gonna eat it up every single time. I've been flying through this book. Like I said, I literally haven't even updated you guys until now because I have not been able to put it down, and I'm almost done with the book. Like, I literally only have a few pages left, but I wanted to pause and like update you on how I'm thinking before I go and finish the last couple of pages in that blog and all of that. But I truly am just adoring this book, and I love the characters. I love the setting. I just love everything about it. Like, this honestly I think is gonna be a 5-star read. Stay till the end to see my full ratings, but this is, I'm pretty sure, gonna be 5 stars. So a little bit of a spoiler. I'm gonna go finish the rest of this book, and then I will chat with you again, and we will decide what the next book is gonna be. We'll get into reading that one. Hopefully I will update you guys more when I'm reading the next book, because I feel like the last 2 books I've read, Love Redesigned and this one, I have just been addicted. Like, I literally cannot put them down. I'm definitely in a really heavy romance mood right now, so this is just the perfect time of year and the perfect video to be filming for this mood, because I think I could read 100 of these types of books right now. Like, the small town romance books are just really doing it for me right now. So let's go finish this book, and then we will decide what the next one's gonna be. Okay guys, I finally finished Heartless. I don't know why I said finally. It literally took me a day to read this book. I am utterly obsessed with this book. This is definitely my favorite out of the 2 that I've read in the Chestnut Springs. And this book alone is convincing me that I need to continue the Chestnut Springs series and read the next one, which is Powerless, and the next 2 after that too. Like, honestly, I want to just read the rest of the series. I'm eating it up, and the fact that I read this in literally 24 hours is a testament to the fact that I ate it up, because I've been in a little bit of a slump recently. So this book single-handedly has given me so much motivation to read, and I just loved it. I will give you more of my thoughts and specific things that I really liked about it at the end of the video. But now we are going to be moving on to the last book for this reading vlog, and that's going to be part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I've heard so many good things about this series. It's kind of an interconnected standalone series, so they're not all like, you don't have to read them in succession, but this is the first one. I've heard amazing things. This is going to be my first Abby Jimenez book, so I'm really looking forward to it. I've heard so many great things. I've heard that if you really love Emily Henry, then you're really going to love Abby Jimenez, so I think it's going to be more women's fiction with a heavy subplot of romance than a romance book, which is what the last 2 definitely were. I'm looking forward to reading this. I'm gonna start this on my Kindle. It's on Kindle Unlimited, so I'm just gonna read it on my Kindle. I will update you along the way, but I honestly can't stop thinking about Heartless. I'm gonna become obsessed with this book series. I actually think I might need to read the next one like really soon. So anyways, I'm gonna start this book and I will update you. Okay everyone, I am back with an update for Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I am now about 25% into this book, and I'm definitely intrigued. I think the idea of like the setup for the story is really interesting, and I'm invested in the story, especially because something seems like it's about to happen that's going to kind of throw a wedge in the dynamic between our two main characters right now. So I'm curious to see how that's going to play out. But I'm also nervous because I have a feeling this could go negatively for one of the characters and could kind of put them in a bad light. And if that's the case, I think that would shed some negative light on their character. But I have a feeling it's probably not going to go that way, or else we probably wouldn't be rooting for these characters. So I'm hopeful that this is going to be a positive development in the end, but I'm a little bit nervous for this next part where they're going to be facing some hard questions, I think. So I'm really enjoying it. It's engaging. I really like the characters. I do kind of feel like it moved quickly, and I don't know if we necessarily got enough backstory for me to like really connect with our FMC, our main female character from the beginning. I don't really feel as though we like know her or understand her that well at this point in the book, but I mean that could easily occur in the next 50 pages. So I'm gonna keep reading. I'm having a good time. I just feel as though when I was reading Heartless and Love Redesigned, I felt more connected to the main character at this point in the book. And I'm trying not to like compare them because I feel like they're kind of different styles of romance. Like I feel like this is more, like I said, women's fiction with a strong subplot of romance, and Heartless and Love Redesigned are just straight romance books. So I don't know how I feel yet. All I know is that I'm having a good time. I'm turning the pages quickly. I'm definitely going to keep reading, and I am just kind of nervous about what's going to happen next. But a lot of people really love this series, so I'm hopeful that it's not going to do anything that would be unforgivable to me. So we'll see how it goes. I'm going to keep reading. I will update you when I have more to talk about. See, this was exactly what I was afraid of. I literally cannot stand when people are like, do this one thing. If you guys have read this book, I'm trying not to spoil anything, but if you guys have read this book, it's around the 35% mark when there's a trip involved and it forces an uncomfortable situation. I just really don't like it. I don't like the way that she reacted. I'm like kind of cringing internally at it because it's just like, ugh, I just don't like it. I don't like it at all. Hello everyone, it's now the next day. I'm still reading Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I am really loving this book. I think there are certain things about it though that I'm not loving. So let me get into the things that I'm not loving first, and then I will tell you the things that I'm really liking about the book. So number one, I am just kind of unsure how I feel about the whole internal struggle with our FMC. Like I understand where she's coming from, and there's definitely an element of like class consciousness going on between our FMC and MMC. However, I just don't like the way that she is handling that. I think maybe her intentions are pure in that she wants to kind of protect what's going on between them, but I don't really like the way that she's treating him necessarily. So that's the main thing that I'm really not liking about the book so far. It's hard because I understand like where she's coming from and I understand why she's doing the things she is doing, but it's just also kind of like frustrating to me because I think our MMC deserves so much better, and I know it's probably going to end up getting better as I keep going on, but I'm just a little bit up in arms for him because I feel kind of bad for him and I feel like he deserves better and he's been giving his all. So that's how I'm feeling. That being said, I really like the duality of the worlds that we're living in. Like we're seeing his world that he lives in and we're seeing her world, and I like how different they are, and I think Abby Jimenez does a really good job of kind of illustrating the differences even in just small ways between his world and her world. So I'm enjoying that. I'm just obsessed with Daniel. I think he's so lovely and wonderful and such a good MMC. I think he treats her so well. I'm loving him as a character. So overall, I'm liking the story. I can see why there's a story here, and I have a feeling it's going to end up being a lot deeper than I'm seeing it as now. But I mean, there's already been some elements here and there that have really made me emotional. So I'm hoping that I start to like the FMC a little bit more, because I don't know, like I feel like we're supposed to feel bad for her, but to a certain extent, like I don't, like I feel bad for her for certain things, but I also like feel like it's not a justification for the way that she's like treating him sometimes. So anyways, that's how I'm feeling about this book. I was trying to be kind of vague there so I didn't spoil anything, but I am really enjoying it. I am obsessed with the MMC. I think he's perfect. He's so nice and sweet and just super funny, and I just love it. I'm gonna keep reading. I'm about 55% into this book, so I'm gonna keep reading. Hopefully I can finish it today. It's not super long, so I have a feeling I probably can finish it today if I focus on it. But I am gonna keep reading, and that's my update for almost halfway through. Hello everyone. It has been a few days, I think, since I last gave an update. And in the meantime, I have gotten a new mic. Can you hear me? Is this great? I don't know. This is the Rode mic, so I'm looking forward to using this for videos, especially because I've mentioned this multiple times in my videos, but my apartment is very noisy. The heat is coming on right now as we speak, and it is very loud. I'm hoping that the microphone situation will help kind of mitigate that. But I wanted to sit down and talk about the 3 books that I read in this video. These are them right here. Valentine's Day is coming up, guys, so I wanted to read 3 romance books in anticipation of that, to get in the mood, and also to give you guys some good romance recommendations if you're also in a romance mood right now because of Valentine's Day, or just because you love romance. So let's get into the 3 books that I read in today's video. First, I read Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. This is a small town romance. It is set in Lake Wisteria, and this is the first book of the Lakefront Billionaires series. I don't know how many books it's going to be, but it is going to be a series. There's actually already, the second one is already out. It's called Love Unwritten. In this book, we follow our main character, Dahlia, and our other main character, Julian, and they are kind of childhood friends, but I wouldn't call them necessarily friends. I guess I would call them more rivals. They were very competitive growing up. They grew up very close because their families are very interconnected, and I guess you could call them like family friends. So they grew up very much competing with each other, having a rivalry. At the beginning of the book, we kind of get the sense that they hate each other because of this rivalry. They feel as though the other person is always out to get them. There's a history of pranks, but it's been a while since they've actually talked because Dahlia had moved to San Francisco a while back and had a fiance and was doing a kind of renovation show on a type of like renovation home network, kind of like HGTV. In the meantime, Julian has become a billionaire since the last time they spoke. He's very wealthy. He's doing very well for himself. He works in like, I think like real estate. He's like buying properties and fixing them up and then selling them, or he's also doing like real estate development as well. So kind of similar career paths, but very different. So anyways, Dahlia is going through a big breakup. She and her fiance just broke up, so she comes back to Lake Wisteria for the first time in a while, and she runs into Julian, and at first it's not, I wouldn't call it a meet cute, but there's a lot of tension going on, and not the good kind at the beginning. And then slowly, as they spend more time together, they kind of rediscover some feelings that might have been occurring in the past, and all of that is kind of dug up. They're forced to kind of evaluate, like, is this really just a rivalry, or is there something deeper going on here? So that's kind of the premise of the story. There's a lot of other factors. There's a lot of self-discovery. There's a lot of, learning how to cope with a breakup, learning how to really pick yourself up and get through, what can be one of the most devastating things that you can go through in life, and also figuring out how you're going to move on from that. I think that's a really good theme that was explored in this book. I will say I loved our main character, Julian. He is an acts of service king. He was truly so giving and generous, and I liked the way that he didn't necessarily say how he felt about her that often. Like, he's more of like a quiet, introverted character, but he would always show her, and I really liked that because off the page, I just knew, even though he wasn't saying anything to her when we were in her perspective, just by his actions, like, you could really know how he felt. And I think that is something that is so well done in this book. I ended up rating this book a 4.25 stars. I really enjoyed it. I would totally recommend. My cats are growling in the background. But if you haven't read this book, I would 100% recommend. I think if you like romance, if you like a little bit of like an HGTV situation, I think you would find this interesting. And I think I'm definitely going to continue on in the series and read the next one, Love Unwritten, at some point. So yes, 4.25 stars. We started this video off on a very strong note. The next book that I read was Heartless by Elsie Silver. This is the second book in the Chestnut Springs series, which is a very much interconnected standalone series, kind of like cowboy romance, but also just kind of small town. It depends on, which book you're reading. I loved this book. I don't think you guys understand. I'm obsessed with this book. I have not stopped thinking about it since I finished it. And I read this book literally in one day. 24 hours, I had this book completed. It was so quick, so addicting. I literally could not put it down. And for that reason, this book is a 5-star book. I am giving this book 5 stars. And I'm so glad that I gave Chestnut Springs another chance, because after I read Flawless, which for me was a 3.5 stars, I wasn't sure if I was going to continue on with the series, but I'm so glad I did because this is a 5-star book. I'm obsessed, and it makes me want to continue on even farther into the series and keep reading the other books that are already out in the series. So in the first book of Chestnut Springs, we're following Rhett, who is a bull rider, and Summer. In this book, we are following Rhett's older brother, Cade, who has a son, so it's single dad trope, and we're following Summer's best friend, Willa. And also, Willa's older brother is Ford from Wild Love, from Rose Hill series, which I'm obsessed with Rose Hill. So I think all of this connection was kind of setting me up to really love this book, because I like when I get little glimpses of other characters that I've already read about in these books, and we definitely got some of that and some backstory and things like that. Yeah, we are following Cade and Willa in this book, and also Cade's son Luke, who is I think 5. And basically Cade is looking for a summer nanny for Luke, because Cade he's kind of like a rancher, like he runs the ranch. He's very much, I don't even know what he's doing. He's like basically a ranch hand, I don't know, but it's kind of his ranch, like he runs the whole thing. So he's doing cowboy stuff like all day, every day. He's out working hard in the fields doing what he needs to do. And so he needs a nanny for Luke, and he's being very picky about the nanny because obviously Luke is his whole world. He wants him to have a good nanny, and so he is very picky with the nanny. So he keeps turning down all the nannies. Summer is getting upset because she's basically like, you need to pick somebody and you need to stop being so picky. So she recommends her friend Willa come be Luke's nanny for the summer. And so that's what happens. She comes, she's the nanny, and slowly feelings start to occur, and I can't really go into much more detail than that, but I am just obsessed with the book. I loved the tropes. I'm usually not a big fan of one of the tropes in this book, but I did not mind it, and that is shocking to me. So most of the tropes in this book, absolutely love. I don't know what it is about a shy MMC that I just love. One, not necessarily shy, but kind of grumpy and reserved. And then it's kind of one of those things where it's I hate everybody except you type of thing. I love that. I eat it up every single time. So that's the vibe that this book was giving me. I literally could not put it down. I was reading it literally for hours. I was in one spot just reading for hours straight. The day that I read this book, I literally stayed up until 3 a.m. So if that says anything, I love sleep. So if that says anything about how good this book is, I don't know. You can take that how you will. But also this book has a little bit of an age gap between the couple. I think she's 25 and he's 38. I don't really read about age gap relationships that often, but honestly didn't mind it. I thought it was really sweet and really cute. And actually the next book that I read also had an age gap, so honestly was not expecting that, and that was not intentional, but I guess that's just how the cards played out. Anyways, I loved this book. I really recommend it if you haven't read it. I think you should definitely read Chestnut Springs. Start with Flawless and then go into this book. It's just so heartfelt and sweet, and it just had everything that I wanted and needed in a romance book, and I am obsessed. Then the last book I read was Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. Actually, these two books were on my 25 books to read in 2025, so I've already crossed 2 off. I think I'm making good progress. This book, we follow our main character, Alexis, who is a doctor, and she's kind of the heir to this legacy of doctors at this very successful, large hospital. And so she has this expectation to kind of carry on the family legacy. So she's very much feeling pressure to fall in line and do what her parents say. And she's basically like committed to that for the rest of her life. So one day she is driving and home from like a funeral or something, and she somehow, I think a raccoon like comes in her like line of sight, and she accidentally like runs her car into a ditch. A guy named Daniel comes and helps her and tows her out, and things kind of go from there. She has a lot of emotional baggage, a lot of things that she's working on, a lot of things that she's going through, and also just she is kind of crumbling under the weight of all of the pressure that her family has been putting on her. This book deals with a lot of intense motifs and themes. I would say one of them is abuse. That's a very big theme throughout this book, so please check trigger warnings before you're going to read this. Whether it's emotional abuse or even physical abuse, this book talks about it. This is another book that kind of explores an age gap relationship, and actually our main female character is the one that is older, and I really appreciated that perspective because I think that's not necessarily represented a lot in mass media, and I think this year and last year in particularly, that has been something that has been gaining more recognition and more representation. So I think that's a really great thing because it's a reality of life. I really loved the MMC in this book. He was such a sweetheart. Also an acts of service king. He was very much unapologetically himself throughout the entire book. I feel like he was always very honest with her about how he felt. He was an open book. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie, the main character, Alexis, I really was struggling with her as a character and rooting for her. And I think at first that was really frustrating for me because I was like, girl, just do what you need to do. But then I think the more that I kept reading, the more I understood her psyche and like why she was kind of struggling so much. And I think that really helped me understand her as a character and kind of become more empathetic to like why she's not just doing what I would perceive is the easy thing. I think I began to understand why that might not be so easy for her. That made me appreciate her character even more because I felt like it's not always black and white, and I feel like she was kind of a very like gray character living in the in-between, and it wasn't always clear what was best or what was going to happen for her. So I liked the complexity of her character. I think her background and trauma really lent themselves to the story, and I think the author did a really great job of weaving these really important and deep and emotional themes into the story while also making it like a really enjoyable romance novel. So this one is definitely, I would say, more of like not a romantic comedy, I wouldn't say that. But this one feels more of like women's fiction with a subplot of romance because we did really heavily focus on our main character, her backstory, her trauma and what she's been through in her life, and also just other themes that tend to affect women predominantly. So I really enjoyed this book. I think the more that I think about it, the more I realize how much I really loved it. So I think I'm gonna end up rating this a 4.5 stars. There were certain points of the story where the main character was just kind of frustrating me because at the end of the day, I was kind of just like, girl. At first, I think I was gonna probably rate this like a 3.75, but then as I really got to know our main character and understand her motivations and her background and maybe why she does things the way she does, I think it made me appreciate her as a character more. So I'm gonna rate this a 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I had a great time reading it. I would totally recommend this. I'm excited to continue reading Abby Jimenez book. This is the first Abby Jimenez book I've ever read, and I truly loved it. And I can't wait because I think I'm probably either gonna read Yours Truly next by her, or maybe even The Friend Zone. I think that's the other series that she has written. So I'm so happy I finally crossed this off my list. It was incredible. And yeah, 4.5 stars. So overall, I would say this was a very successful reading vlog. We had one 5-star read and one 4.25 and one 4.5 star. So that is a very successful reading vlog for me. All of these books are fantastic. I would recommend them to everyone I know. I think they're great. If you want something more deep and emotional and exploring more of like a themes that affect women, definitely recommend this book. If you want just more of like a lighthearted small town romance vibe, these are the way to go. Anyways, that is all for this Valentine's Day romance reading vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more reading vlogs and more book content. And I hope you guys have a lovely Valentine's Day. I hope you feel the love, whether it's with a romantic partner or your friends or your family, whatever it is, there's plenty of love to go around. And as Daniel Grant once said, grace costs you nothing. So remember that. So with that in mind, I will talk to you guys very soon in my next video. Have a wonderful holiday.